On today's show, it's Friday the 13th. We'll talk a little bit about it. Watch out for the black cat. Which TV show made your top list this year? AMI communications specialist Greg David, he'll join us with his picks for the top TV shows of 2024 that he has watched. Boy, I can't even remember what I watched last week. Go to it, Greg.
This is Kelly and Company.
A lot to talk about on the program today and a lot of visiting to do. We welcome you wherever you are checking things out. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Kelly & Co. AMI. At Kelly & Co. AMI. Speaking of Nisreen Abdul-Majid on the program with me. She handles all our social media. How's your week going?
Pretty good. It's been a busy week for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
So we threw a Twitter poll question yesterday asking you guys which gaming platform do you prefer most, and we got responses. And so our list that we gave was a console like PlayStation or Xbox, mobile, PC, or I don't play games. And I was surprised to see the results. So 25% said console, and then 75% said I don't play games. I mean, that was shocking. That was
Sorry.
very shocking.
That was me because, I would love to play games. I think if I went out, bought the console like Marcus and I have talked about, Marcus and Mike,
Yeah.
great conversation with Ramya, Nisreen, and I yesterday. Absolutely tremendous. I found it very fascinating. If I went out and started to play games, I would lose my job. I would get so
Yeah.
into it because of the concepts, the things I've heard over the years, the different types of games. And as an actor, as somebody who's always liked to get on air and perform or whatever, I consider games in that let's pretend world. You're making that world, and
Yeah.
I'd be done. I also couldn't lose that image of you blocking the TV, trying to play a game, and whoever's playing with you saying, "Come on, this isn't fair," and you just turning your head saying, "It sucks to be you." And
I mean, Kels, it is addictive, and I have to remind you that, like, because it's addictive, you're not just staying there for 30 minutes, okay, to play games. No, it's
right,
hours. It's
yes.
hours. So you can imagine my legs just starting to shake after an hour or so
And
because
dancing up there, getting into the game. All I kept
dancing up
picturing,
there.
my
See,
sister
I'm
liked,
getting exercise and gaming at the
well,
same
that's the way I
time.
look
It's
at it. When you're listening to an audiobook, the best thing to do is be on a treadmill, as Ryan Hui used to say. But my sister used to say that about the Wii. When she'd play on the Wii, she'd be up there. And I thought, wow, that'd be great. And of course, you get all annoyed being as vision impaired as I am and like, oh my gosh, you miss out on so much. But as Mike
Mhm.
Fair pointed out, there are so many people utilizing their phones, playing games like that from disabled community, particularly the low vision and blind community, where there are so many accessible games that are now there available in the palm of your hand. And I find it just so amazing because it is the one thing people seem to find their way of adapting to. My massage
Yeah.
therapist, he's vision impaired, and he talks about it all the time because he's a huge gamer and enjoying that downtime doing that. So I really get that. I thought the contributions from everybody was tremendous. I'd like to actually welcome Jordan in here. He's teching our show today. Mark's away. And Jordan, are you much of a gamer? Did that conversation, I don't know how much of it you were able to hear. I think you were hanging around a bit yesterday. Is gaming something that you enjoy?
I actually do quite love gaming. A little bit more seasonally though. I don't always like to just do it all the time.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
daily.
Well, what I mean by seasonally is like it will be daily for maybe like a month, and then I'll need
Ah.
to take a month off because it kind of just consumes my
Okay,
life.
you know
Like you
what?
were
That's good
saying,
though.
Nazreen, yeah.
I
I
feel
think
like
it's
that's
good.
healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
But
and it's a natural way to, what do you replace it with? Are you then a book reader? Do you have something else, another hobby or interest?
Well, I'm actually a musician, like pretty
okay.
heavily.
Oh, there.
So it's more just like kind of a break from that. Because
Nice.
you only have so much creative energy, right? So you kind of need
Yeah.
to let that recharge at some point, and I find gaming is just a great way to do that.
I think
Wow.
one time when we extra the show or intro the show, we should have Jordan's work play
We
in the
should.
background.
I'd love
I'll
Yeah.
to.
have to send you a sample before we commit to that.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to get something like that, some natural stuff as music or transitions. It's one of those things. But then you get into Copyright. Right. And
Hmm.
that's just a drag sometimes to deal with because it would be so wonderful. I know Lucas Henneman and his band wanted to do some stuff for us. We're really, really interested in doing that. And Fedora's off to anyone that can do that. And I know if it were me, boy, what a nice thing. Like, yeah, man, that's my stuff out there that they're using. I like that, especially for a theme song. So yes, thanks, George. I have something here I want to just get into. Trying to decide if we should talk Friday the 13th first before, we completely chase Jordan back to work. And are you, Nizreen, a superstitious person on these Friday the 13th?
No, not really. No, people tend to scare me about it sometimes,
How?
because people share stories about Friday the 13th on social media. So they do like, I don't know if it's all pretend or just for views or whatever, but people share their stories of scary stuff that happens on those days. And
Really?
uh I'm like a bit skeptical, but at the same time I don't find myself to be super uh superstitious person. But we do in our culture, like, kind of, how when a person knocks on wood or something like
Yep.
that,
Yep.
we
Yeah. If they
say
say
other
it.
things. Yeah.
Oh,
Like, I don't know, like there's some words in Arabic that we just say just to kind of like, I wouldn't say it's superstitious though, but similar.
kind of giving yourself that luck, like touch wood. We would say
Exactly.
that, if you say something. Jordan, how about you? Anyone in your family, any superstitious kind of thing that your family abides by?
I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, not like family wise, but like sometimes I'll knock on wood or just like subconsciously, I try to not dabble with like bad omens.
Yeah.
Mm,
I don't really want to say anything specific because they're kind of some of them are kind of dark, but like it's not good to talk about the dead, for instance, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
yeah.
But for you, is it
um
all time or particularly the 13th? Like, do you have anything that's particular on this day, or is that kind of just what you abide by all the time?
It's hard to say, really.
Okay.
I think that
Come on,
definitely
man, you're gonna
Friday
give me
the
bad luck,
13th
Kelly.
is
Let's get
like
off of this.
it's one of those things
Yeah.
where you're a little bit skeptical and you don't want to do anything too rash because something could go wrong. But
mhm.
you know, uh, I don't know. What about you guys?
For
Miz?
me, I feel like the biggest the biggest thing where I find myself to be a superstitious person is like believing in evil eye.
Oh.
It has nothing to do with the 13th or like anything like that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
think evil eye in our culture especially, like, will wear
It's like
like
voodoo.
necklaces or bracelets with the blue eye, and
Hmm.
that's it. Like in our heads, that's just gonna stop evil eye from happening.
Wow.
So yeah. So it would be something like that. Like my mom would be very protective over that.
My mom
So
too.
it just
My
kind of, yeah, grew
my
on
mother
me.
was very superstitious that way. Like, you don't go walk under a ladder. Probably on a day like today, the black cat thing, oh, a mere 7 years bad luck. And again, my mother would say that stuff. It's not like I had to hear about it all the time, but I started to get that impression that, oh, she buys
Did
into
you
this stuff.
hear did you used to avoid the cracks on
Yep. Well,
sidewalks?
no, because I can't see to do that, I used to worry. I used to love
Mhm.
stepping, like, kind of, but I would estimate, but not so much bad luck with that. But other things, the under the ladder thing, the 13th, I would like, uh-oh, don't schedule that for the 13th. Oh, that's on the
Yeah.
13th floor. So some of those, I didn't really know why. I just was careful and steered clear of them. So
It just grew
very
on you.
interesting. It did, and it just was, I don't know what could happen, and I'm not gonna tempt fate. No way.
Mhm.
So this is from Living Real Change, folks. The healthiest winter spices. Now, these are the warm spices that we normally associate with the holidays. Not only fill the kitchen with comforting aromas, but they also have may actually have a warming effect on the body. Now, we know here in this part of Canada right now, it's pretty cold to us. So you've been hearing us say that in other parts of Canada, saying, yeah, those Ontario wimps. Cinnamon is actually tree bark that holds a tremendous amount of essential oils just one half to one teaspoon it actually has been used for centuries. It adds warmth, flavor, and spice, and it's been, of course, used for health benefits for so long. Health benefit: blood sugar control. If your body has trouble breaking those high carbs down, cinnamon's awesome for that. Anti-clogging protection. There's something in there that keeps blood platelets from clumping together. It's good for the heart health, shielding the body from those health related disorders that are out there. So it's really tremendous on what it does to prevent from some of that, and filtering things out lowers that cholesterol. So just one or two a day, teaspoons of it can
Interesting.
lower your cholesterol. And I think that's a cool thing, because we have so many people on cholesterol medication, Nisreen. It's nice to find that natural thing that really does make a difference or matters. And I think in so many cases, cinnamon does, especially with people who have to avoid sugar.
Yeah, it's nice to have something natural rather than taking medication or whatever it may be. Those pills. It's nice to know what you're taking
Yeah,
clearly.
definitely.
Yeah.
Greg David also joining us here on the side and checking things out. Greg, are you a cinnamon person?
Yeah, I am a cinnamon person. I like, especially at this time of year, I always think of like warming up cider, apple cider on the
Mhm.
Oh,
stove and throwing in a couple of cinnamon sticks. I'm not really into mulled wine as much, so it's more cider for me. But what m- during the holidays for me, the smells of spices or herbs actually in my case would be like thyme and rosemary because it makes me think of like stuffing or turkey or
mm,
roasted vegetables. So those would be kind of the big ones for me, especially at this time of year.
okay. Well, we
Mm.
got cloves. They also rank as the richest source.
Right.
They have essential oils, of course, which is used heavily in Africa for medicine. Research hasn't actually come up with the fact that it's got that many health benefits, really, but they say anti-inflammatory characteristics. They're also use cloves in dentistry and treating digestive cancers. So they're really good for intestinal health, and again, really tremendous. But again, still some of the things that we don't necessarily um, can prove. Cold prevention, tea flavored with cloves is thought to lessen that effect that the common cold can have on you. Ginger. Now, I've heard a lot about this, especially Greg, when you mentioned vinegar. People doing the like apple cider vinegar or ginger every day. It's an
Mhm.
underground stem from a plant. It's used worldwide for a baking spice, combining a spicy, sweet flavor. Health benefits include stomach health, circulation. I had not heard that one before, and the
Mhm.
Japanese use it in ginger tea, of course. We know that from a lot of our sushi places, and of course, it provides the warming effect and antibacterial, which of course can aid in the prevention of different infections such as foot fungus. Nutmeg. I think, Greg, there's your one for the season. That one that has that smell, and I really
Mhm.
always latch onto that in the kitchen if anyone's using it.
Yeah, yeah, and I like to I have, fresh nutmeg, like what are they called? They're not the seeds, but the buds, and you can grate them on top of your eggnog, so I like to do that
Oh,
every holiday season, and then don't forget dark chocolate. There are a lot of health benefits to dark chocolate, so hopefully people
Mhm.
get that under their tree and in their stuffing in their stuffing, in their stockings so that they
yeah.
can enjoy that, because that's the excuse as you're shoving chocolate into your mouth, you just say, "Listen, there are health benefits to this." Not so sure about the
I like that.
caramel, but the chocolate
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. Niz?
I think because there's health benefits, I avoid dark chocolate. You know when you know when
This goes for
something
the
is good
cheap
for you?
chocolate that's, like, no benefit at all except, victimizing your teeth and your insides.
Yes. You know when there's something good for you and then you just automatically hate it. You don't like it. That's how I feel with
That's my
dark
life.
chocolate. Yeah,
That's you just pretty much described my meal every meal that I eat. I go the opposite way.
yeah, exactly.
Nutmeg's health benefits: inflammation, of especially if you get any abdominal pain. It's good for
Yeah.
achy joints, muscle pains, arthritis, sores, and other ailments. It's really
Yeah.
interesting there when you look at that. I didn't know any of this when it comes to it. Good for liver and kidney health as well.
This
And
is a
how do
perfect
you
example of how like tomatoes are bad for your arthritis and my mom always hated that I love tomatoes. And after I found out that
Really?
it's bad for my arthritis, I'm like, give me more. Um, and just got addicted to it. But yeah.
So
Wow, I
going
didn't
back
realize
to
that.
like going back to something like ginger or cloves, is the idea that you're taking them in a pill form? Because I would think that just
No.
sprinkling some nutmeg on top of something wouldn't necessarily be that good, or does it make a
Mhm.
difference?
No, it doesn't because they're talking here in the item a lot of the teaspoons, dumping them on. They say they're
Huh.
good
Mm.
because they're low in a lot of well, they're low in saturated fats and cholesterol. Two other good reasons to add them to every dish. And notice, so dish, so definitely they want us to cook with them in here and to warm us up. It's best to use fresh spices over the bottled ones and a
Mm,
spice blender. It's definitely a wise investment. So yeah, Greg, I don't think there's anything wrong with throwing it into the nutmeg at all,
mm. Okay.
or into the nutmeg, into the
Into
eggnog.
the
Now, of
eggnog.
course, unless you start pumping your rum and stuff like that in there.
Yeah, you're countering the benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, and just what have you if you have it too many times. But it's interesting because you can't really find what goes wrong with using the spices. I guess it's again what you put it on, but it doesn't sound like they neutralize or get neutralized by anything. So, folks, remember to check out our podcast from your podcast platform of choice. Maybe give us a rating and review. Visit us on YouTube, our YouTube page, and enjoy the content out there. Always glad, no matter what way you get a few moments to take in the show to have you do so. So, Greg joining us, and yes, there's a reason other than him being exposed to all these spices and thinking about later on how warm and these spices are going to make you as they start tickling your nose over the next little while. As our communication specialist, Greg joins us to talk a lot about TV, everything TV and entertainment. With the end of the year coming, he wants to focus a little bit on some of the stuff we've watched in 2024. Now, Greg, understandably, we're not just talking shows or limited series that came out this year, but you do have some things you want to feature. There's been so much out there with NBC, CTV, great television, ABC, and of course the streaming service Disney, Netflix. But you have honed in on a couple to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, and I picked two very different ones. I chose Shrinking, which is on Apple TV Plus, and then I chose Tracker, which is available on CBS and CTV. And I chose them, and like you said off the top, Kelly, these shows in both cases, they're new seasons of these shows. But have started watching them and really enjoyed them. So it doesn't have to necessarily have come out come out this year and be brand new shows. But I picked them because they're both very different. Shrinking is all about a psychiatrist. It was co-created and stars Jason Segel. It deals with loss and love and life in a very funny way. Jason Segel plays the character Jimmy. He's a widower who's also a therapist, and he advises others on dealing with their struggles. But of course, in that kind of sitcom trope, he has trouble, kind of advising himself on what he should be doing. And the first season really dealt. We're into a second season now on AMI TV Plus, and actually the season finale is coming up next week. And the first season really was establishing the characters, Jimmy and his daughter, and the fact that he's now a single father because his wife and his daughter's mother passed away suddenly in a car accident, and just dealing with the mental trauma behind that. But it's also very funny. There are next door neighbors that are hilarious. There's a really good repartee between all of the characters. Harrison Ford is, you know, he is fantastic. I mean, I've been
He
a
is.
fan of his since the original Star Wars because, I went to see that in a theater in 1977. But he is so good in this comic role. Harrison Ford doesn't get enough kudos for his comic timing.
Comedy.
He
No.
plays
No.
Jimmy's mentor, coworker Paul, and partner at this therapist firm, and he is just great. So if you're into that kind of serious, but juggling between serious and real funny hilarity, then definitely check out Shrinking. Like I said, there's two seasons available right now on Apple TV Plus.
So, what do you think of the name? I mean, when I first heard it, and I
Yeah.
don't know if we talked about it, I thought, okay, I wonder if that'll get some people's ire up, even though we're talking a comedy. It's such a almost an old term utilized that we used to use years ago for people in the profession.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up. I hadn't thought honestly, it's weird. I hadn't thought about the fact that shrinking, like we're talking about, shrinks, what psychiatrists and therapists used to be called. I didn't even put that connection in there. So wow, forgive me for that. But yeah, it is an interesting title, and I think I feel like only now or in the last 6 months people are talking about it, and it may be because we've talked about show titles before and how some of them can be really off-putting and have give no indication of what the television show is about. So is shrinking like a DIY show where you're trying to shrink and move into a smaller space? Is it about organizing your life? No, in this case, it's about therapists and therapy.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you always
That's so
expect
interesting.
somebody to be offended by it. Niz, if you've got anything cool, I'm gonna let you have the floor in a sec with this, with shrinking. I don't know if you watch it. I just wanna commend, like, Harrison Ford. You know you're an actor when you got to do the things you wanna do, and people discover in your, let's see, 50 some odd year acting career, "Hey, I didn't know you were a comic actor or this." This to me is just tremendous because, I mean, yes, you get to pick and choose as your career goes on, what you may wanna do, what you don't wanna do, turn this script down, accept this one, but I absolutely love when that gem of, "Oh my god," and for all you know, he's not had that opportunity because people don't depict him that way. All of a sudden, you know what, Harrison, I'd like to give you a shot doing this. I know you're a funny guy or whatever, or I once saw you do this. Let's give you a shot in this. And they just steal the limelight, Nisreen.
Mhm. Mhm. Honestly, I always saw Shrinking, but I forgot where I saw it. Was it on Netflix or
It's
Prime?
Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus, and so neither. But yeah, I've always saw it and it looks interesting. It looks funny. And I love comedies. Versus, my whole family just likes thrillers and scary stuff. I'm just not a fan. But what's been popping this year is limited series.
Mm,
And we've just been going on a roll, like between me and my husband, we've been going on a roll of just watching limited series after each other back to back. Because that's everybody's just referring to that on TikTok. Like they're just giving suggestions on TikTok of all the limited series out there. And especially 2024, I feel like that's when all the limited series came out. And I
yeah.
wonder if that's because we have a short attention span. We can't do the 15 plus seasons anymore or something like that. I know that for Grey's Anatomy, I stopped every couple of seasons because I just need a break. Like it's too much. Um, but the shows that stood out to me this year was Fool Me Once. It's about Maya Stern who tries to come to terms with the brutal murder of her husband and so good. I didn't think to like it this much, but it was
Hmm.
such like a twist.
That's a family
I
pick of yours because they like all that brutal stuff.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, I started to like thrillers, especially for the limited series. But if it says remotely to horror, I'm like, no, not gonna happen. But thrillers is always like such a mysterious, like a mystery. It's always a twist, which I love. Like I don't like very predictable shows, obviously. Um, but yeah, so that was one example. Another show that I liked was The Three Body Problem, and
Yes.
also available on Netflix. And Fool Me Once is available on Netflix. Three Body Problem was very popular. When I was scrolling through TikTok of like different shows to watch, everybody suggested Three Body Problem. And I was like, okay, so it's about a fateful decision in 1960s China that echoes across space and time to a group of scientists in the present, forcing them to face humanity's biggest threat. This is the description. Guys, I can't
Hmm.
even explain to you what this is about cuz like it was a lot. It was a lot to
Y-
unfold, but it was a
Yeah,
really good show.
Yeah, I really like Three Body Problem as well, and as you were kind of describing it. It's a little bit like Lost because
Yeah.
there's people in other worlds. It's a little bit about gaming if you want to harken back to the gaming off the top too, because there is a gaming angle to it, right, Nizreen? It
Hmm.
is very,
Yeah.
very hard to explain, and there is original source material. There's at least one book. You can read the book. I did a little bit of research because I got hooked on it. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a great one. And going back to what you said about limited series, because I think Three Body Problem is only 6 or 8 episodes or something like that. I don't know
They're all
whether it's
like
a short.
7 to 8 episodes. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
that's
for
what I
some
found with
people,
the limited. They're less than a season, which seasons now are like 10 episodes. They just
yeah,
seem to generally be that 5 to 7 episodes. And again, I think last year, 2023, maybe even before, maybe 2022, this started and it seems accepting. It's like a quick bam. And I think you're right, Nazreen. It takes, first of all, the episodes could be whatever length they need to be, but it
Hmm.
really takes advantage of the fact that people are sitting down on a Saturday afternoon and running into the evening watching a series and being okay with watching it all. So it's to me, hit and run. Take your
yeah.
money and
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, low time
Yeah.
low time commitment, absolutely, and I also think for the talent, for the actors and actresses, depending on how big a name it is, knowing that they're only they're going to be shooting a limited series, so it's gonna be a little bit longer than a feature film would take, but also not as long as, like, a network television show, so I think it's a bit of a combination. Yeah, I've gotten now where I mean, I grew up watching 22 episode seasons without any issue, and now if I'm scrolling
Yeah.
and say, "How many more episodes is this show?" "What?
Yes.
There's 3
Yes.
there's
They
3 more to
feel
go, and
like
there's
they
only 10
just
episodes?
stretch it out. These.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have
It's
gotten so impatient.
You would almost
yeah.
rather the show be longer and less shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I have
Kelly, what
two
about
other
you?
options
Oh,
if I
oh,
have
you she came
time.
Nazreen came prepared.
I
Do
know.
it.
I was
I
sitting there
came
saying that to
prepared.
Niz and like, wow. Greg, though, let's give one sec here. Greg, throw in
Yeah.
Tracker. Let's talk quickly about that.
Okay, sure. So Tracker is on CBS and CTV, so you're not paying any extra for any of the streaming services. And Justin Hartley plays this guy named Coulter Shaw. He's a former soldier, and his job is to go around the U.S. In an F-150 pickup truck with a trailer on the back, and he just finds people. He's hired out to find people missing things. He's paid to do it, and so every episode he's in a different part of the U.S. Spoiler alert, the show is filmed in BC, so he never leaves BC, but it's anywhere USA. And he runs into all of these different challenges. He never gets hurt. He's a bit of a superhero character because in the 2 seasons that I've been watching, he's never really gotten into too much of it dire straits. You know that he's going to succeed by the end of the episode. There is an overarching theme, but it's a little bit thin. But this has been the number one show on CBS for the last 2 years. So, and Justin Hartley, I've been told, is easy on the eyes. So check that one out.
Okay. And it sounds like simple format. That's the thing people
Yep.
like. They become the star shows. Okay, Niz, give us your 2 more because it's like you're covering off for me. Gosh, I don't have to use this one that I have. Go ahead.
Oh no, no. I literally I just looked at the time and it was tight. So if you want to go for it.
I'm just gonna throw in one that I
Yeah.
enjoyed. This is funny because it's one that's 2019, I believe it came out. Godfather of Harlem, and this is
Mhm.
Forrest Whitaker in it, and this is Bumpy Johnson returning from Alcatraz to regain his strength as the mobster of Harlem, and it talks a lot about the mob families of New York. The Malcolm X part in this also is fascinating. So it's based on a lot of actual activities that went on in the crime syndicate world. I love this kind of stuff, and again, not knowing necessarily the whole history, I'm not sure how much is fiction, how much is reality. I think when you watch it, you say that can't be so. That much violence or that much of this, you start to question. But we all know there's been some pretty violent times in the history of TV. And Greg, I don't think you've watched this, have you?
No, I haven't. So where can we watch it?
Over on Disney Plus.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah,
Excellent. Yes, I
I
will
found it all right. It does have some description, folks, but I believe season 1, if my memory serves me, did not, but the final 2 seasons have audio description if you're interested.
excellent.
Niz, your last 2.
Yes. Last one actually. So this show Severance is so interesting. Another very popular show. It's a thriller. It's not limited series. Actually, it's only season 1 that came out and season 2 should come out next year. Um but it's about a office workers who get their memories surgically removed or surgically divided from personal
Wow.
to work life.
Oh,
It's
yes.
crazy.
Yeah, I heard
So
of this
right
one.
when they leave the office, that's it. They don't remember work. They just
Oh,
divide. They literally
yeah.
divide their personal and work life, and it's insane how the plot goes. So
That would
I'm
be
really
so alien now because so many people take work home, right, Greg?
Yeah, things have changed since that first season of the show. Yeah.
Wow.
imagine not talking
Unbelievable.
about work at home, and then you're just
Gosh.
not talking about home.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Happy holidays to you. Appreciate you bringing all this to us.
Thank you.
Nazreen, wonderful. We'll talk to you in the new year for me. And thanks a lot.
Talk soon.
Email us at kellyco.ami.ca. Or sorry, kellyco@ami.ca. Do that all the time. Call us at 1-866-509-4545. Appreciate your comments, folks. On our next show, we find out how Michael Babcock creates, produces, and publishes podcast content using Reaper, Alphonic, ChatGPT, and Pinecast. Folks, I'm off until the new year, but Ramya and Nazreen will be taking you through the rest of the year. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate you giving us a try, and I hope you have a safe, wonderful holiday season no matter what you do now. Get out of here, will you?
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.